Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wallace and Keller Show. Gary Keller and Mike Wallace sit here, and we're going to talk racing and stuff. And boy, Gary, I got some questions for you this week on the stuff side. A lot been happening in the world, and all we do is we take other people's stuff and we talk about it. But let's get back to our normal racing. We're a little behind times, but what about Corey Heim, Mr. Heim time, winning the Brickyard 400, only in his 8th ever Cup race, and it was his 3rd Cup win on top of it.
It's just amazing, Mike. I mean, on one hand, so inexperienced, then on the other hand, comes in and shows what he can do. The good thing, he's racing for 23XI, so I mean, he's got a rocket behind him.
Yeah, that's 23. So they call that 2311. So that name of that team that's Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin as co-ownerships. And the name of the team they couldn't figure out, so they took their most famous numbers. Michael Jordan with the 23, Denny Hamlin from the 11. They used the Roman numeral to make the 11 out of, and so it gets interpreted different ways, but it is 2311. That team gets its car. Now, this is a crazy part, Gary. It gets all of its cars built and supplied by Joe Gibbs Racing. They take them, literally, it's 2 axis up on Interstate 77 from their race shop. The engines all come from TRD Performance out in California. But boy, old Bootie Barker, who everybody's wrote off for not knowing what's going on now and then and wanting to quit, and they got him off the Dario Wallace team. He's looking like a hero on that Corey Heim team.
I mean, Bootie got his feelings hurt, when Bubba kind of shunned him aside. And the guy always seems to be the cream of the crop and raises his head above water. And in case the audience doesn't know, Bootie is in a wheelchair. Like you said, Mike, he's been down and out. I've seen him where he was, in the old Nationwide series when he couldn't get a cup deal, couldn't get a truck deal. But he had the Nationwide deal going on there for a while, and now he's back up to where he really belongs, I think. You know him probably a lot better than I do. Tell us a little bit about him.
Well, that's the whole thing. I don't know Bootie that well. My son-in-law, Thomas Van Wingerman, and Bootie are buddies. They're all in what they call the Concord Bourbon Club together. I guess all around the country, everybody's got these little bourbon clubs in every little town or municipality. And Bootie lives right over by Thomas and Lindsay, and that's my daughter and son-in-law. But what I will say, and I'd like people, I think it's a really inspiring story, and I really don't know what happened to Bootie, but Bootie Barker is in a wheelchair. He has been ever since I've known him. I think it was a car crash or something that caused that. But that doesn't deter this guy one bit. Doesn't slow him down 1 ounce. So let's picture this. Here's a guy, big upper arms, real nice guy, sits in a wheelchair, and he has a ramp that goes out the back of their transporter in the garage area. He rolls himself up in that transporter, does all his data stuff inside, rolls himself down. And man, you ought to see him when he gets rolled up to the pit box. He has one guy that helps him. He's got such strong upper body strength. He pulls himself up on that pit box. They put that wheelchair away, and he's wide open calling the races. So very smart individual, but overcome this huge obstacle of whatever paralyzed him. Whatever, his upper body strength works fine. His mind's, of course, incredible. And it's kind of unique because I'm not saying I followed his career, but we kind of had the same time frame. Just about the time everybody gives up on him, he throws some grenades, and wins big races and shuts everybody right back up again, and does good. So I'd like to compliment Bootie, all the, 2311, that particular team. There's a lot of talk what's going to take place with that team next year. Riley Herbst is leaving that organization and going over to Legacy Motorsports, which Corey Heim is filling that spot. But so the 2311 basically has 4 teams right now, but they're going to end up being at 3 teams, and everybody's going, who's going to be the crew chief? What are they going to do with Bootie? And I heard the other day, Bootie said, I don't want to be on the road full time. I'm perfect with this type of schedule, so just leave me here.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens, whether or not he does a full-time deal or not. But Corey Heim, I was very impressive. And Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin, God bless their hearts, they just have that chemistry going on right now, Mike, and they're kind of unstoppable.
Yeah, and that everybody knows as we're talking, they own the Tyler Reddick car also. And Tyler, won all the races at the first of the year, and Bubba Wallace drives the other car. So they got it all on go. It's all on kill and doing well. Gary, jumping off of, the Corey Heim, who won the race, led the race, Indianapolis Motor Speedway itself. I'm sure you've seen it. Anybody watched it on television could see it. Everybody's been talking about it. The fans aren't showing up at Indianapolis. Do you think that's because the chemistry that a lot of people don't like what I call there's not enough side by side racing there? Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano are all blaming it on the cars, not on Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They're saying the speedway is wonderful. They used to be able to pass there, but the fans aren't showing up. What do you think's happening there, Gary?
I don't know. It's just not exciting right now, Mike, with that track per se. I mean, it's not like a super speedway. You don't have the degree of banking at Indianapolis, as you well know. You've driven the course many times, and it's very unique. But I'm not so sure that with this car, it's really a good fit because, like you said, they can't seem to pass. It's not a real wide racetrack. I mean, it looks big. I mean, when we were kids, we would look at the start of the Indianapolis 500, and we would see 33 cars out on the field, and they were lined up 3 wide. But what people don't realize is it's just not a wide speedway. Well, I don't know the exact dimensions, Mike, but it's sure not like Charlotte, Talladega, Daytona, of course. What do you?
Yeah. It's got width to it, but it's a rectangular shaped racetrack. Basically, it's got 4 straightaways and 4 sharp corners. They're not our typical oval corners, but I certainly hope that whatever goes on there, Roger Penske and the Penske Corporation, Penske Entertainment Group, I think is what it's called now. They own that place now. And boy, they've made some beautiful improvements on it. It's so clean and beautiful inside the racetrack. So hopefully between the cars and something else, I can get some really good racing going back there and get some people back in the grandstands. But
Well, I saw that the viewership on TNT is down a little bit, just even from last year. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Boy, wouldn't it be nice if you and I could figure out all that stuff? We could make ourselves a killing if we could tell them what they need to do to fix all that. But on another side note, a fun note is that you went over to IRP, Indianapolis Raceway Park, on Friday night for the truck race, and they had it sold out.
They did.
Lot less space, of course, not as many fans, but they sold it out. And Lane Riggs pulled off another big win. It's Scott Riggs' son. He's driving for Front Row Motorsports. Boy, they're pretty stout in their truck this year.
Speaking of Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I was watching it on YouTube video last night with an interview with AJ Foyt. But before I get started on that, I have to ask you, did you ever have a desire to do open wheel racing, Mike, or did you ever? I never even asked you that.
I had the desire to try to test a car. I don't know what it's like to race them. I actually still had that conversation up till, I guess you would really say yesterday, believe it or not. I drove for AJ Foyt, and Larry Foyt is now the president of AJ Foyt Racing. And I was helping Larry when he was Busch Series racing. And we see each other every year at a golf tournament out in Houston, Texas. They still live in Houston, even though the race team is based in Indianapolis. The original AJ Foyt Racing is there, and that's where AJ hangs out. And so last November is like, we've been talking about this for 10 years now. When we go test somewhere, we're going to make it happen. You can come run some laps in it. He says, damn, everything's so expensive anymore. Just to test costs money. So we got to tie it into when we got our full blown test that it really doesn't cost us anything, but I doubt that I will ever personally be in an IndyCar racing a car, but I would, from the driver's standpoint and a competitor, would love to feel it. I would love to see what it feels like. We do know it has to be a major transitional change because we watched Jimmie Johnson, 7-time NASCAR champion, for 2 years try to go IndyCar racing, and it just didn't work out. He didn't run good. He had
Yeah.
one or two races that were average, but the rest of them were mid to back part pack marker. And, that's not Jimmie Johnson's style. So it tells you how hard it is. And
Sure.
then from the other side, we had Dario Franchitti, who hauled the mail in IndyCar, come over to the stock car and couldn't go very fast. So there's definitely a
Go
difference.
go figure, But, I mean, everybody relates to AJ. Of course, we know he did NASCAR. He won the Daytona 500. He won several NASCAR races, but everybody relates to AJ Foyt as an IndyCar racer, as we all know. But anyway, watching this YouTube video last night, it was really interesting. And I grew up in the air. I have a few years on you, Mike. But it was really exciting for me to watch the 500 back in the day, and I was always glued to the TV. Memorial Day. But AJ was talking about his top 5 competitors, and it was really pretty cool. I'm going to try to go in the order that he named them, but he named Al Unser Jr. He also named Mario Andretti, Gordon Johncock, Johnny Rutherford, Parnelli Jones. And he triggered it where they were all in different categories of desire and smartness about the track, about the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And that was such good racing back in the day, Mike. And I'm sure you caught it too. I mean, you guys were racers. Your dad, Russ, he was a racer. So I'm sure you guys were glued to the TV during the Indianapolis 500 as well.
Well, the Indianapolis 500 has always been, the iconic motorsports race in America. It could almost be considered the world, but everybody paid attention to Indianapolis. Actually, when we were growing up in St. Louis before it was live on television, they used to have a version of pay-per-view, I'll call it, but you went to Kiel Auditorium, a big, an 18,000 seat stadium where the St. Louis Blues played hockey. And I think they had a word like telestream it or something like that. You paid and you bought a ticket and sat in there and watched the race be aired, at the stadium. And that was a big deal for a few years in a row. We went down there to watch the Indy 500.
Mm-hmm.
So
I remember all we could do is listen to it on the radio for years.
yeah.
So I remember those days. But then eventually it came on live, whether it was Wide World of Sports or ABC or whatever, but it finally came on full time. But it was such great racing. Talk about open wheel, Mike. I wanted to ask you about this. Right now, Formula One has 3 stops in the USA. Naturally, Las Vegas, Austin, Texas, and Miami. They got 3 stops right now. How competitive, and we all know that all 3 venues have been sold out. Vegas, as you well know, has just been crazy. To get a ticket out there, even if you're on top of one of the casinos, you're going to pay a couple grand just to sit on top of a casino and watch the race.
Outrageously priced. Yep.
Yeah. So how much of an impact do you think that's going to put on NASCAR and Indy racing as far as that goes?
I think what's happening, Gary, is the doors being slung wide open, not so much just from Formula One, the word Formula One, but the Liberty Media Group that owns Formula One now. They have for X number of years now, and they're based out of New York. They
bought Bernie Eccleston out. Is that the group?
Yes, sir. They bought him out, and Bernie's been out of the picture for 4 or 5 years now. But it's Liberty Media. They're based out of New York. They're big with Live Nation and Ticketmaster, and it's just they're geniuses. They know how to market. They know how to promote. I've been reading different things about F1 racing and the amount of money that is spent in regards to hospitality. And it doesn't seem to be slowing anyone down. I mean, we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars per person that people are paying or corporations are paying to bring people to the event. They're not coming to just a race. They're billing it as an event. And I think they've certainly spearheaded a new, would I call it a new way of promoting? Yeah, it must be, because they're still able to sell those places out. And I'm talking, Gary, it's expensive. It's not, everything through the whole F1 world is expensive.
I know.
And, you go to a race, and I'm hearing this firsthand. Okay. personally walked up to a souvenir trailer or a place where you buy F1 apparel, but where you and I would buy a $35 or $40 hat at a NASCAR race, they're $95 at a F1 race, selling as many of them as they can get out the door. And there's a lot of loyalty in regards also to the brand of manufacturer, not just the driver, Ferrari or Red Bull car or Mercedes. It's just different. They got the country the driver's from, so it's kind of like a worldwide sport, not just a U.S. sport. You got the brand manufacturer and then the brand itself of F1. But they're doing a great job, man. I'll tell you what, we're friend of mine, R.J. Burney, owns a Cadillac dealership up in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And he told me he was going to work on it, claims he's getting close, that we're going to, if all works out well, through the Cadillac F1 team, we're going to go to Austin for the F1 race this year.
Yeah, that'd be fabulous.
Yeah, I says, RJ, we don't want just a ticket. We want the ticket. We want to be able to walk on the grid and walk, we want the experience. He goes, I'm as high up the Cadillac pole as I can get, so let's just see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I know Mike Wallace. It's probably going to happen, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, we're going to work at it. But hey, Gary, we've been talking racing, but I got to mention one name. Now, I'm going to say one person's name. It's been the highlight of the week or last week, Fauci.
Oh, my God.
What the heck, man? The guy that was this scientist doctor, he sat in front of Congress or in front of an appeals panel and pled the fifth 111 times. He even pled the fifth of what the date was and what color tie he was wearing that day.
Yeah. Well, I looked up his net worth the other day, and it said on the internet that he was worth $5 million. Well, I know that's bullshit. You and I both know that. The money that he took in from the drug companies, he was getting money from the federal government. He was getting money from the drug companies. He was getting sources of income from 4 or 5 different plans or venues. I don't know how. Listen, there's always been approximately 55,000 people that die every year of the flu, influenza, okay? Statistically, it's around that, Mike. We all know that there were a lot of people that died during COVID. I think if people died of a heart attack, that was COVID he died from. People that died from a brain tumor, that was COVID. So I really don't know how many people actually died of the disease. I know I personally had it 3 times. Doris, my better half, and I had it 3 times apiece. Kind of passed it back and forth. It didn't really affect us to any extreme, but the people, first of all, in my opinion, Mike, I think the inoculation that it came out with, the shots for the COVID, were too premature. I think they were throwing things at it that were poisonous to a lot of people. A lot of people died from that category. I had good friends that passed away. Had a couple good friends that are in their 80s, and they both saw the Travis Kelce commercial on TV. I don't know if you remember that or not, but Travis Kelce came on and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, take the COVID shot." And these friends of mine went and had it done and about killed them. They called me up. They were crawling on the floor. Had to call an ambulance, get them back to the hospital. They almost died after they took the shot. So the inoculation on it, Mike, I don't know. But I think the guy, if you have a conscience about yourself, I don't think they're going to be able to pierce him because, he got, quote unquote, the auto pen or the
pardon from Biden.
So I don't think they're going to be able to pierce that. Probably not. Wish they could find a way to do it. But if I was him, I would feel pretty damn bad about what transpired, and if he could have done an apology, that would have spoke volumes, because we all know that people were searching out to see. Well, we all were. We didn't know what the hell was going on.
Right.
Did you? We didn't know. We didn't know the extent of it, but he took advantage of it. He was an MD, and he bellied up to the bar and acted like he knew what the hell he was talking about. And it was total bullshit, as it turned out. He was no more capable of it than the doctor down the road, as far as I'm concerned. What's your thoughts?
Well, I'm just wondering if it's me. I just, they have these hearings. I call them hearings, Senate hearings, confirmational hearings, so forth and so on. And I don't ever understand them because it's just like two sides. They make statements. They don't ask questions a lot. The Democrats say one thing, the Republicans say the other. They all throw stones at each other. And you have a guy that won't answer 111 questions out of a day. So what's the use of even having it? But it would have been nice if we could have got a little bit of just answers or, a simple, hey guys, you know what? There's a lot of things that went wrong.
Yeah.
And
I
we're all sorry we didn't have the magic wand to fix it. But just to say nothing and just continuously read that script of due to my legal counsel, I've been advised not to, whatever. And so I've heard numerous people since that walk around and go, I refuse to answer because of my Fifth Amendment rights. Just some stupid question, trying to be funny now. And so I don't know. That's just been a big name. It's been in the news, and
yeah.
So what do you think? What's happening in your world? What are you thinking about out there?
Well, in case the audience doesn't know, I do hurricane cleanup work. So, hurricane season starts June the 1st, ends November 1st. With El Nino that's transpiring, with all this pop-up storms that are happening, I don't know what's going to happen with the hurricanes. We've had a lot of flooding here in the city of Cincinnati. That's kept us pretty busy. I don't know what's going to happen with these storms, in the Atlantic. I just don't know. Hurricane season is here. It's going to be interesting to see where I end up. That's the only thing going on in my world. You get to be 73 years old. You live it day to day. Hopefully you're healthy. You try to stay healthy. And that's my goal. But getting back to Fauci, it's such a big disappointment. He could have handled this so much better. And I don't know who his counsel was. It was rather interesting that Rand Paul told his attorneys to evacuate the hell out of the room, which was cool as hell, I thought.
Yeah, throw him out. Had him thrown out.
Bernie Moreno just toasted him, man. Fried his
Was
ass.
that not the most classic question or statement I've ever heard?
Yeah.
That was.
But he could have shown some mercy for the people and said, hey, there was a lot of things that I was in the dark about too. I tried to put our government in the right position for this to make things right, and it just didn't go as smooth as I would have wanted it to. Would have spoke volumes, Mike. But to plead the fifth 111 times, that's more or less admitting, hey, look, I'm guilty as hell, and I'm not going to leave myself as an open can of beer here. So it's a shame.
Yeah, it was crazy. They brought back Gary and showed a clip from 2022 where he was being interviewed, and he made a comment that I've done absolutely nothing wrong. I will be more than happy to sit in front of any group or Congress or whoever and answer any question they have.
We know that's
so.
bullshit.
From 2022 to 2026, he's not smart enough to answer any questions and refuses to, and I shouldn't say not smart enough, refuses to answer any question, but just talking about how a person's name is influential. We've listened to, about Fauci now and the Fifth Amendment. So that was just that. We talk about names. It's funny. Well, I'm going to jump off our sport. How about Sophie Cunningham? Plays for Indiana, man, and she got that little point finger. Has she not been a fireball, man, having fun with that?
Marketing concept she's created for herself. I mean, what a smart young lady.
Yeah, I'd like to meet her, so just to say hello to her. She's cute, she's spunky, but I just, and all the, what do you call, we'll use the word everybody uses, all this AI imaging that's going on out there with her finger point. Man, has that thing captivated the country, really, for, the whole internet for a period of time. So
great marketing.
We went through racing. We've talked about Fauci. Now we're on Sophie Cunningham. She's the cutest and the best looking deal going on that aspect. And
watch.
I'm going to go to Montana, Gary. I've never been to Montana in my life.
Oh, cool. I'm so happy for you. I've always had to go, but I'm
So we're
envious.
going to go out and do that. And then, the whole race world's off this week. Come next week, we'll have some new up-to-date racing to talk about and see what the new latest greatest is. You go find something, stir the pot, as they say, Gary. Find something good out there.
Yeah, I will. I will. But thanks, Mike, for checking in before you hit your trip tomorrow. I thank you. I hope that you do it safely. I hope you don't ever get hurt anymore. Because you and I really had a hell of a start this year.
We've had a screwed up year. I have. I tore my hamstring. I hurt my shoulder. You won't believe what happened this past week. Well, I'm going to tell you what. I don't know that you even know. My son Matt raced on
That's
Saturday night at Trey
how did
County
it go?
Speedway.
Keep us up to date on that.
Yeah, he hadn't raced for 6 years, and he got in a car, a teammate to Chrissy. Chrissy wasn't in that race, but Jeremy Mayfield's car, same car I won Hickory with earlier this year, and he runs second in a rain-shortened Grand National race. So that was a fun thing for us to do. And
Yes.
his daughter, who's only 3, got to watch Dad at race, so she's never seen that before. And
Mike, do you
so
still enjoy going to the track?
I only enjoy going to the racetrack because I'm there to support my children.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they're adult children, I still consider them little kids. I was explaining that to Jeremy Mayfield on Saturday night after the race. We're sitting on the wall. We're old school racing. I mean, we're just sitting around there BSing. We're not in a hurry to get out. It's done rain the event out, rain shortened the event. And Jeremy was going to run the late model stock car portion of it. And it's rescheduled for the 29th of August or whatever. And he said, "Man, you normally don't hang around this long." Meaning, when the race is over, I'm gone. I'm out of there. I said, "Jeremy," I said, "to be honest with you, I'm a really good participant, and I'm a horrible spectator."
Mm-hmm.
I come to these races just because my kids are racing, and I want to show support. But when it's done, I'm going home.
Yeah. Well, you're always good at getting out of the track pretty early.
Yeah, I
You
know
know,
how to get. I can expedite pretty quick out of places.
are
And
you,
when we used to have our own airplane, I'd be home, literally home, before most people were at the airport. The team guys, I remember calling a couple car owners. I remember Johnny Davis, who drove forward. We were all together, worked together at one time there. And I called him and says, "Well, what are you up to?" He says, "What are you up to?" I says, "I'm walking to my door at home." He says, "Holy shit, I haven't even left the racetrack yet." I
yeah.
said, "Well,
I remember calling you.
I took that from Kenny Schrader. Schrader taught me how to get out of the racetrack quick."
Yeah, I can see Kenny doing that for sure. Well, Mike, thank you. Have a good week. When are you coming back? Week or
I'll be
so.
back on the 10th, next
Okay.
Monday.
Okay, cool. So you'll
So,
be there a week.
yep, we'll
Okay.
all get together and tune in, and we'll talk about it and talk about whatever the current racing
Mhm.
affairs were and
Yeah. I
see
want
what
to.
stuff's happening in the world. Go from there.
I want to tell our audience that I had a meeting this morning with our marketing guy. He said our program's doing fairly well. The audience has a request for us to do some live interviews with some car owners or some drivers. So maybe we'll work on that. Maybe you and I can talk about that, and we'll see where we go with it.
Well, sounds good. We'll work on it. We have had a little discussion. When we do those shows, Gary, we're going to have to leave out the politics on it, though. We're just going to have to make them racing only.
And there's enough. If we have a guest, you and I know how
Yeah,
to bait and
we'll
switch
work it all in, right?
for sure. Have a good week, Mike. Thank you. Thanks, ladies
Okay.
and gentlemen. Appreciate you.
For everybody that listens to Gary and I, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Tell us what you want. Let Gary know. And nothing else. We're really good at just BSing.
For sure.
See y'all.
Thank you.